I'm in the process of a midwinter cleanout of our chicken coop, in which we are doing deep litter method with the intent of reducing the overall amount of labor involved in managing the coop, but also providing both warmth, feed, and activity. As you can see, one hen in there is working through. So, very brief overview is what we do is put sawdust and wood chips underneath the perches every few days to cover up whatever poop is on there, and then periodically I'll scoop all that up and make a pile in the middle, add red winter wheat, organic seed, and corn. You can see there's kale and random compost, there's wood chips, there's leaves. They all get piled up, and so the chickens then scratch it apart, and then I pile it up again. And so all winter, up in, we're in early February, we've just been adding and adding and adding since November. Recently, even with that turning, it's been smelling like ammonia, so it's time to clear that out. In midwinter, in a coop where there's plastic on the walls to keep the drafts off, I absolutely do not want to have an ammonia buildup. So all of this is coming out. What's insane to me, though, is I'm only about halfway done, maybe a little less than half, and this is what has come out of the coop so far, and it's nuts. When it's all said and done, there'll be enough material coming out of this coop halfway through the winter to probably cover. So my goal is to take that high tunnel over there and take the compost that's finished and add another 6 inches of finished compost to that bed so that it can mellow and be able to grow some crops. I'll be documenting that soon enough. But the sheer volume of material coming out, and if I go through this with the sawdust and wood chips and leaves and biochar, there's still tons and tons of seed that they have yet to eat. So not only was this providing bedding and material for them for the last few months, but there's all this buried seed. And so they're just going to work this over and over again, and it'll generate heat and food and activity for them outside. So probably some way that I could modify how we manage the indoor coop space so that ammonia doesn't build up, but I'm also happy to clear it out and hit the reset button and start from scratch in here. But what a kind of stunning surprise, actually, to see just how much material built up since November and how nice it is. And even right now I smell ammonia a tiny bit. It's because I'm really actively turning, but by the time this all comes out, the air exchange is good enough. It should be cleared out very quickly. And then I'll just start putting down hay and wood chips and wood shavings again, and we'll start from scratch with these folks. But you can see it's not just litter, it's definitely a food source for them in there too, and so they actively have been turning this all winter. One other quick note, I may have documented this in another video, but what I learned early on, so the subflooring in here is hemlock boards, 1-inch thick hemlock boards. What I've done is I put about $40 worth of vinyl roll tile. So it looks like these cheesy tiles, but that's all vinyl. And the vinyl goes to the edges of the walls and then goes up a little bit so it contains this deep litter. And when I go to harvest from here, I'm using my, you're really going to think I'm sponsoring A.M. Leonard, or I'm sponsored by them. I use this poly fork, A.M. Leonard poly fork, which allows me to slide across this without poking in and penetrating the vinyl, because you can easily poke through it. And so far, as long as it doesn't get too wet, enough sawdust, enough dry wood chip, enough hay, and the balance is there, this works really nicely so far for us. Just a bunch of puffy butts sticking out, all in there ready to lay some eggs. Getting about 14 a day right now, which is just lovely. Mm-hmm.